Hello and welcome to the This is Metal Show with Tom Collier. And our guest today is Chaz West, the lead singer, and Jimmy Burkard, the guitar player from the band Westbound. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How are you?
Great. Now, I interviewed you guys for Chaotic Risk TV last year. It's great to have you back. I want to have you on the show with Tom here because he's a fellow musician. Chaz, why don't we start today? Jimmy was telling us just before you came on that you guys just recently signed a new record deal. So let's start off talking about that.
That's true. Yeah, it's a label that's based out of Nashville. And I know they're friends of mine for many years. They own 2 nightclubs up in Northern California and also one in Nevada, in Reno. And so they came to me, said, hey, we love the band and we're forming our own label. And instead of taking an option with Frontiers, what if you gave us a shot? And I went, well, let's talk. And we did, and it's great when you're dealing with people that you know already, It's not like strangers. And, they're great people and they got behind us and, we're doing the next record on their label. It's called Legendary Artists and LLC. And we did one video already. We shot near their place and in Nashville, outside of Nashville.
Okay.
And that's the first single, Don't Stand in My Sunshine. Yeah. And now we're working on, the rest of the record, right? As we speak.
It's funny that you guys would be signing with a label called Legendary because before you came on, jumped on the interview here, Chaz, we were talking to Jimmy off air, and I was telling him, a lot of the bands we grew up on are retiring, doing their farewell show.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And what I wrote down when I was prepping for the interview, watching some of your music videos I watched, I was telling myself, Westbound, these guys are future legends of rock. And what I mean is when all these bands go away that we grew up on, who's going to be in the next legion of bands that are, going to be the next Led Zeppelin and next, Whitesnake and Deep Purple, whatever the case may be.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. I mean, that's those are the guys we just hope to aspire to try to even get close to them. Am I right, Jimmy? So
that's totally right, man. It's big shoes to fill, but
so that's a huge compliment. Thank you. Exactly.
Before I throw it to my co-host, Chaz, I want to make this point about Westbound is, for years, because you had a Led Zeppelin tribute, you're known for, Led Zeppelin being your thing, which is interesting.
Well, I also played with Jason Bonham, and he was Don Bonham, so it's a little bit closer than.
But my point being with Westbound, what I love about it is people might expect this to have kind of a Led Zeppelin sound. There's elements of that, but what I love is you really kind of developed Chaz West, the original, your original sound for this band,
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's kind of like you take a whole bunch of influence that you have, that you've had throughout your life, throw it all into a blender, mix it up, and that's what comes out. You put it from your soul, and there you go.
There you go.
So,
Tom, take it away, because I've had a chance to talk to these guys in the past, so I know you got a million questions you want to ask them.
I do. And first of all, I love the single. Absolutely great song.
Thank you.
It was a pleasant surprise to hear that song because, you think of rockers, and I looked at who you played out with and stuff like that, the bands you've been with. That is just, it's A1 music. And the other thing I thought was really cool was it looked like 2 slide guitar players at the same time. Were you guys doing a duo?
Are you talking? Yeah. Yeah, it was Jimmy and Roy Z, the producer, co-writer.
Oh, Roy Z. Wow.
Really cool.
Wow.
He was a producer, co-writer. He co-wrote this song with me. So
Roy Z, that's the guy that did all those great Halford and Bruce Dickinson solo albums.
That's correct. Yeah,
he did.
He's still his producer. Yep.
Wow. Nice. Very cool. That was that really stuck out to me. I don't think I've ever seen. I'm a lead guitar player, lead singer myself. So I've never seen anybody do it like that, the dual slide. But
that's very cool. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, when do you guys plan on releasing the album? I know you guys were talking about you're in the middle of writing it right now, because the single probably got, it must have got great airplay. That's just such a cool tune.
Yeah, we even played it out. We did a few shows on the East Coast in the fall, and we did play it live, right, Jimmy?
Then at the Whiskey
really
also.
Well. Yeah. It's cool. I just had to learn how to alternate between singing and playing the blues harp, because during that song, I pretty much played blues harp on and off all the way through. So I was like, okay, how am I going to work this? So we, but trial and error, we did it through at rehearsal, and we tried it
And
out a few times live. What was that?
The fun thing about live too, we stretch it too. You jam on the harp,
exactly.
Guitar jamming towards the end. That's what I love about live playing. The songs can grow.
Yeah, some of the greatest songs ever recorded, written and recorded, were just like that, just jamming live and coming up with ideas. In fact, I know that for a fact from certain people I've worked with.
Sure, a lot of the great bands we grew up on, like you look at Aerosmith. Aerosmith had like Tyler and Perry, Plant and Page. You guys seem to have, and you and Jimmy seem to have that kind of chemistry now. Like, you guys kind of the core writing team, or is everybody involved in the band as far as the songwriting?
Well, no, I mean, everybody is welcome to put their input, bring in their input. I say, bring in an idea. You got an idea? Send it to me, please. Let me hear it. And if I feel it, I know right away. That one song that Jimmy sent me, he sent me a few ideas, but one idea really immediately clicked. And I knew, like, I had a melody idea immediately. And I went, oh, there we go. We got a hook. Oh, I can build from this. And that's what it's about. It's all about a feel. So and I think it's that'll be on the record. On the new record. When I got to be honest with you, I don't think the record will be out until sometime next year, probably early, the first part of next year. So we're not going to rush it. I want to make it right. We did the one record, and I think we got great great feedback from that, great out. So we're not gonna, like, all of a sudden just throw something out there to have a second record. No. So we'll do the singles. We did the one, and we'll do another one probably later this year, like summertime, somewhere around there, and before the record comes out.
I mean,
and it's like another video to accompany that's the single, and then there might even be one more. So, because that seems to be the way to keep people enticed and interested these days, so they don't.
And Chad, what I love about that process is it's very different than we grew up. I'm an old school guy.
Right.
So I CDs, read who played on the album, wrote the songs and all that. And so you still got that option. But I think what's very different about the way it's done now is if you release a song at a time, these singles, maybe 2-3 months apart, it's not so much where every song of the album maybe has to sound the same. You kind of can do whatever fits the mood at that time, as your
right.
Yeah.
No, you're spot on, and it's funny because I've talked to older musicians, guys that we, emulated, and they said, oh, it's like the old days. You put a single out, what they used to call a 45, and you do that first, and then hopefully they'd push your record more if that single did well, We didn't really, live during that. I mean, the singles to us were MTV videos, right? Before that, it was all album rock. That was the cool thing. They're not just playing that one song like AM radio was doing. So it's kind of gone back old school, but of course, it's all digital now.
Yeah, so, and one of the greatest bands of all time, Foghat, they recently put out a great new studio album.
Right.
And what's killer about it is it not only did it hit the Billboard charts, but it's also been on the blues charts. So bands are doing things like that too, kind of accidentally without even intending to.
Right, blues had a baby and they called it rock and roll.
Yeah, you get the
crossover. That. That's right.
It's got to be based in that,
Yeah. That's right. So Jimmy, let's talk about who are some of your guitar heroes. The guys that really influenced you to kind of pick up a guitar and do what you're doing.
There's a lot of them, but from the very beginning, probably Ace Frehley, off Kiss Alive, all that stuff, and then Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath, Jimmy Page, of course, Joe Perry, and Eddie Van Halen. The better I got, I could learn that. And
let me ask
Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, Tony Iommi, amazing story in that. I mean, he literally is credited with creating that heavy metal sound. I mean, he was in that accident when he was very young where tips of his fingers got, if that had never happened, he wouldn't play the way he does. Ace Frehley, I got to ask you, how excited are you about the new Ace Frehley album coming out next week?
Digging it. I love Ace. Ace to me is the coolest guy in Kiss.
Yeah.
He's the cool dude, the most street cred, I think. I love Ace, man.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm glad he's still playing.
He used to be my neighbor. in the late
Oh, wow.
90s.
Well, I bet
That's
you
right.
have some stories to tell.
That's right.
I lived
Yeah.
at Westview Towers, and he was I was on the 4th floor, and he was on the 2nd floor, I believe.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you, Chaz, that being the case, did you ever come close to joining his band or anything?
Well, Kiss?
No, like his solo band. Like, you ever come close to him asking you to write with
No,
him?
that never got to that point. But he was, he's so New York. He's great to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
bud, what's going on? Is there a party happening tonight? This was like 97, 98.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story. My ex-wife and Zoe Bonham, we were on the road, the Bonham band, but he had a party at his place, so he invited them to their party, right? So I mean, and they walk in, they said it was like all guys, all dudes, basically. There might have been one other or two other girls, and he goes, "Hey, I got a bar over there," and and I think he had he had alcohol, plenty of alcohol, but then for and these are two women, right? For snacks, he had there's a bag of potato chips,
Wow,
and a bag of Doritos or something like that, a couple of dips, for a bunch of guys, who cares? But two ladies, they weren't even in bowls or dishes. It was just like, there you go, there's plenty to drink over there. Of course, he's been sober for many years now, but this was back then.
Oh, sure.
That was the first time I met him.
Back in the day
in the elevator,
he's been sober for like 12 years or something like that. So good.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. I've got a party going on. Come on,
being that you're a guitar player, I know you always love to ask guitar players about their rigging. So, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Jimmy?
Yeah, well, it looks like a Les Paul there. I can't really see it. I've got bad eyesight, but is that a Les Paul?
Yeah, that's one of them. That's the main one I play with Westbound. It's a 58 reissue custom shop.
Nice.
So Les Pauls are my main guitars. I like Pariah pickups I use in them. They're like PAF type.
Sure.
And
what do you use for amplifiers? What do you use
amps? Marshall 100-watt amps, and I've got my own MGL Ampworks 100, which is my new signature amp. So, and it's definitely Marshall DNA. It's got that sound and just really nice parts. But to me, it all starts with Gibson Marshall. That's the basis for it all. Not much effects.
Jimmy, are you ever far from your guitar? I mean,
no.
A little bit in the background, but you always coming up with riffs and stuff on the spot. And
yeah, there's one right next to my bed. There's this one. There's another Strat sitting at the end of the couch. Amps are right here next to me. You can't see them.
Right.
But I can, lay tracks. I have Pro Tools here, so I can lay down ideas and whatever, So yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
Do you live close to each
other?
Oh,
it's attached to him. I know.
Yeah.
Just like when just like George Lynch, Jakey Lee, I played with both. They're exactly the same way. It's always right next to them, like attached, like
it's
a
right there.
twin. Yeah, right.
So when did you play with Jakey Lee? Talk a little bit about that. I wasn't aware of that.
What was that? 2015.
Okay.
Red Dragon Cartel did some touring. Yeah. And I knew Anthony already, and it was great. It was good fun, and it was great playing with him. He's amazing. He's one of those guys that just him and George Lynch, Jimmy, and Royce,
amazing
guys I've worked with. It's like they're from another planet. It's like it's like but he was great. And he was cool to hang with too. He loves his Jamesons.
What I love about Jake is he's one of those guys. He's this great talent, but for example, he went away for 20 years and then he comes back and he does his thing, disappears for a while,
and now he's away again. I know. I last saw him right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the pandemic started. It was at NAMM, or that would have been NAMM 2020. He wasn't even at NAMM. We were still in LA, but we just saw each other at a Mexican restaurant, and I hadn't seen him for a few years. But and he's like, I might do a show in June. This is before the pandemic.
My co-host Tom, he just attended this year's NAMM. Did you guys get a chance?
I did. I didn't see him. I heard he was there. I did not see him. I was only there one day.
Hey Tom, tell them about you appearing at NAMM, and who you played with.
Well, you probably know Sean McNabb, all those guys.
Of course,
I played the Metal Hall show. I played the Metal Hall of Fame because Ripper Owens was my singer he sang my last 2 albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's what he was telling us.
Yeah, the next night I played Metal Allegiance, Dave Elfson and all those guys.
Oh yeah,
I was at the NAMM show the following day. It was a great time out now. In fact, I just got invited to play Metal Hall again. What's that?
That's great. We just did the Vegas Rock Awards.
Oh,
It was
that's
the
cool.
weekend
Well, Ripper
before
was there
Vegas
too. Yeah, he
with
was there.
Sally Steele, and I introduced Ripper. I got
Did
to
you?
present him with as an award. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great guy, Ripper
Singer to
is.
singer, you know, and I've known
Yeah.
him for years.
Yeah.
When I
We
originally
toured
was
together.
Lynch Mob, and we
Yeah.
played, he had a little bar restaurant that was in Akron,
Akron,
Ohio, I think
Yes.
it was. Yeah,
Akron,
where
Ohio.
he's from. Right.
Yeah.
So this is back, what, 2010, 2011, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me
Yeah.
ask you, Chad. You mentioned playing with Lynch Mob. I don't know what time frame that was, but they've had a lot of different guys singing over the years. And what's that like to go in and have to learn all those different Lynch Mob songs? I ask because you've got the ability obviously to do it, but the fact that you got all these different singers that have played on the records, you got to try to kind of sound like that must be hard.
Well, I did it twice. First, the time was 2003, 2004, around that time, maybe 5. Went into, and then the second time was 2010, 2011. And I've known Oni Logan for many years. I consider him a dear friend.
Sure. Yeah.
And I always said, you guys like an old married couple,
Yeah.
they'd have a spat and break up for a bit. And I go, yeah, and I get a call, or someone else. Right. And that's what happened the first time, kind of, but at least it was planned ahead of time.
Sure.
The second time was different. So the first time it was Jeff Pilson rang me, and he says, hey, would you want to sing with Lynch Mob? And I'm like, sure. He goes, okay, cool. I'm reaching out for George. He'll contact you. And he did. Like, next thing I know, 10, 15 minutes later, he called me, And yeah, it was great. It was good fun. George is, like I said, one of those brilliant guitar aliens,
Yeah. And I gotta say,
but
as a guy following you, Chaz, you're one of those type of vocalists that, I bet you get a lot of calls from famous established people like, hey, we need a singer. Can you?
Right.
Out and
Well, that's the great thing. I mean, I finally got my break with Bonham in the 90s, right? And you're playing with the son of who's considered the greatest rock drummer of all time.
Yeah.
Then the phone rings, or nowadays you get emails, and I'm very grateful. I'll always be grateful to Jason because of that, because I was a complete unknown before that, And I met Jeff Pilson because we worked on the Rockstar movie together, and I knew him before that. That's when we first worked together. And yeah, it was great. I had great fun.
We were reading that you had
played drums, and I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry. We had read that you also had played with Foreigner. Was that while Jeff was in the band?
Yeah, that same time. Actually, when Mick Jones decided he wanted to reform the band, that's when it happened. That was about 2005, 2006, somewhere around that time.
They're
so it was
getting ready to
Lynch
go on
Mob
their
and then
farewell
that.
tour. Yeah, we just had Jeff on. He's a great guy.
He is.
Oh, Jeff is brilliant. He's a great guy.
Good
guy to
dude.
work with and a sweetheart. Yeah, exactly.
So Jimmy, I know Chaz is involved with a lot of other things every now and then. Do you have any other bands, or is Westbound your main gig?
Do Westbound. I do a version of Sweet, and then I do my own tunes. So I got instrumentals I put.
There you go.
So, might we see a Jimmy Burkard solo CD down the line, or solo shows?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know about solo shows. I'd be a little nervous, but I do want to put. I got tunes. If you look up on all streaming, I have instrumentals on there.
Oh, cool.
So you could just look up Jimmy Burkard. You could find that, and eventually I will put out. I might do vinyl or at least CDs. I have some people asking, hey, can I buy something? Physical.
I think there's definitely a market for that, Jimmy. And
Absolutely.
The thing with instrumental music, unless you're a Joe Satriani or Steve Vai type, you got to it's got to really be able to catch the your listeners' attention, because a lot of people they put out albums and every song sounds like an Angry Beer, the same type of thing. But I mean, again, you look at these guys I mentioned, Satriani or Steve Vai, they each tune has got a life of its own, very different. And that's why those guys have had the careers they've had, or even look at Randy Rhoads, you mentioned being influenced by.
Right.
It's amazing to me, Randy, not saying anything about his talent, but he's got an amazing story in the sense that he died so tragically young, really got those 2 Ozzy albums. Those are his legacy. And yet, look at how many people that guy influenced.
And still does, yeah. And like you said about the songs catching people's ears. It's about melodies. You know, you
Yeah.
can put the flash stuff, but it can't be all that. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to
Right.
have melodies and hooks, even within just the musical part. You know.
Yeah, because you know, it's an interesting thing to me about when I listen to instrumental music. I think more so than music with lyrics. When you're listening to a song that has lyrics, I know at least I'm trying to listen to what's the story the singer's trying to tell.
Right.
What's the song about? Whereas with instrumental music, it's not so much. I mean, what it's about is more based, I think, on maybe your emotion or what you're feeling at
Yes.
the time.
Emotion and mood.
Yeah.
And
Right.
good music encompasses everything from very sad to just angry and super happy to whatever. It's everything. How
Very therapeutic.
how we
Exactly.
feel. Yeah, music is great for the
Exactly.
soul.
It's true.
And let me ask you, Chad, how often when you and Jimmy get together, do you kind of just start creating your lyrics based on his riffing?
Well, like the one song we just recently wrote, he sent me the idea, and I immediately, like I said, I'm a melody guy, and then I usually write lyrics later. Every once in a while, it's the opposite procedure, but it's very rare. That's usually the way I work. I feel like something like, I got a hook. And like something you said while you're listening to what the vocalist, or what his story is. But I think you're also listening to a melodic hook.
Sure.
That, right? Am I right that you can sing like, oh wait, all of a
A
sudden,
great example of that is
you
your
hear
song.
it in your head over and over and over, right?
A great example of that is your song "Dance of Life." I love that. I mean, that's a great anthem type rock thing. It'd be a great way to close either close or open the show. I don't know, but it just puts me on my feet.
Thank you. That was the first song that we did for the first record for Volume 1. That was the first song we wrote. Roy Z and Dave Chili Moreno, I should say, and yours truly. Yeah, and that's what I knew. Okay, this is gonna work.
So are you guys in Los Angeles, or are you living in Nashville like a lot of these musicians these days?
No, we're still LA based.
We haven't made the move to Nashville.
Yeah, what was
Nash
that?
Vegas. We haven't made the move to Nash Vegas.
Nash Vegas, yeah, right.
Because that's the thing. Everybody's either going to Nashville or Vegas.
What was that?
Anybody going to either Vegas or Nashville.
Right.
It's true.
Exactly. I know. No,
California is expensive.
Robbie's there, I think. Vince Neil, Mick Mars, all those guys.
Oh, I know. They're all moved to Nashville or Vegas, like you said. The majority. I know. We're the holdouts.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
LA's been very good over the years.
Yeah, you go down to the Sunset Strip. It's kind of sad what it's become, but
I
love the fact that it's still there.
Well, I love the fact you still got the whiskey, you still got the Rainbow, the Roxy too. So at least those are like holdouts. And actually, I believe that historic landmark, the Rainbow and the whiskey, have now been established as a historic landmark. So they can't just knock them down.
Yeah, they can't touch those.
Right. In fact, I mean, the Rainbow's kind of like a museum now.
You just walk around,
people's tourists walk around for hours just looking at the pictures. And then, of course, Lemmy's bar in the front. They've got the huge statue of him, right?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, Chaz, because, a couple of years ago during COVID and all that, a stupid governor here in California was getting on TV telling people, well, I know. We're going to close everything down, and there's never going to be live concerts again as long as I'm in power. Thank God it didn't come to that,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I know. It was a weird time. We were only able to do like a streaming show we did for Monsters of Rock Cruise, and then one of our endorsers, Chromacast Sawtooth, did another one. We did another streaming show, but it's weird. It's like, okay, act like you've got thousands of people that you're playing in front of, and that's where you become an actor, because the first one, this is still early in the pandemic, that even though we had some friends and, girlfriends, whatever, and they were like all the way at the back of the hall, he couldn't even see them, it's just like, okay, clap, make some noise. And it's just, just cameramen up front,
The one thing I loved about that is at the time when they're trying to close everything down and saying there's never going to be any more live entertainment, that's what they're saying at the time. I think, okay, this is the bands are finding a way around this. They're finding a way at least to keep.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But then as soon as more and more bands started doing that, like with anything, Facebook wants to shut it down. No, we got to monetize it. If you guys are going to use our platform, we better get paid for it,
Oh yeah.
Then it gets old. Yeah, exactly. I know. But you know, it's like, you know, get lemons, you make lemonade. That's
You'll
what
always
we
find a way.
we did, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Tom, I'll let you wrap it up because it's about that time, my friend.
Okay, well, I just want to, first of all, the Red Dragon Cartel, did you play with Greg Chasen in that band? Was Greg?
I
in there?
did. Yeah, well, Greg came in and he substituted like a couple of times, but he wasn't a regular, not like the original Badlands. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a band. Yeah, well, I signed Greg to a record deal.
It was Anthony Esposito who played with Lynchmo, actually, in
Okay.
the early in the first record,
Yeah.
first two. So yeah.
Greg's band Atomic Kings. I'm the president of Fire Rock Music Group. We just signed the Atomic Kings to a record label.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Great. They put out a great album. It comes out
They
April
got
5th.
that. He's got that cool studio in Vegas,
Yes.
right? Connected to the bootlegger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Chaz and
Because
Jimmy,
they're always
it was
having
great.
birthday parties
It was
there.
great having
Yeah.
you guys on our show. I got to
You
thank you
too.
for coming on. This will
Thanks,
be
Jason.
getting posted next Tuesday. No, actually in 2 weeks. I'll let you guys know once it's up, and feel free to share it. Thank you,
Brilliant.
guys.
No, please.
Westbound.
Yeah.
Westbound.
Thank you.
Check out.
Thanks,
Don't
guys.
Stand in My Sunshine.
There
All
you
right.
go, guys. Check it out. Bye
Peace
bye.
and
Have a
love.
great weekend.